Hey guys, my name is Ryan.
And my name is Miska.
And welcome to Overwatch Central. So we do a series called Denied where we talk about countering problematic specific heroes. Heroes like D.Va, Mei, Reaper have all come under the hammer and have caused real issues for players in the past, including ourselves. This video isn't an episode of Denied, however it's here to talk about when counters don't work.
Overwatch is a big game of rock, paper, scissors, but just because you pick a counter, even if we say it's a hard counter, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will win all of these situations and 1v1 battles and scenarios 100% of the time up against that hero that you are supposed to be hard countering. Much like any tips and tricks we give on the channel, situation dictates whether it will be effective or not. It's a great thing about Overwatch to have so much depth in a game like this, but it makes it very difficult to give tips and advice that is applicable to all situations. But this topic is something we've seen pop up a lot, both in response to Denied videos and in our own games. So here's a common scenario that we're going to be using throughout this video to explain certain things. You're playing Control, the enemy team has a Pharah that's causing all sorts of problems and is currently the only enemy doing really well and being on fire. Someone on your team is already playing Soldier, a hero that is deemed by most as a strong counter to Pharah, but she's still dominating the skies and your team.
The first and most obvious thing that tends to happen is that people get very upset at the Soldier, that he isn't doing his job and is allowing the Pharah to single-handedly take control of the game. Whilst yes, this may be a factor in why Pharah is kicking ass, but how you go about dealing with it is incredibly important and can be a sensitive thing to bring up, especially when you don't know the person in your team. Calling out anybody on stuff like this can be a very bad move, and there's a bit of science as to why. For those that don't know, I do and teach karate as a hobby. Now, instead of all of the Hong Kong furry crap that I get to do, I also learn a lot about de-escalation tactics and the sort of psychology side of getting under somebody's skin, I suppose. More to just calm angry people down, as if you can avoid a confrontation with your words instead of your fists, then great, that's exactly what you want to be doing. Point being that one thing that I've learned is that criticizing somebody can be a very dangerous thing to do with somebody that you just don't know. You know that bit in Shrek? Not the All-Star bit, but the bit where they're talking about having layers and onions and cakes of layers and stuff like that. That is something that's called social penetration theory, and it's very much used in Overwatch as well as everyday life. It's this idea that as a relationship develops, you break down these sort of barriers of learning stuff about people. First you have like the physical side, age, gender, name, and then you may have preference in food, music. Then you get into deep stuff like religious beliefs, goals, aspirations, deep fears and stuff like that. But of course, critiquing and communicating with somebody that you don't really know can be a very difficult thing to do. If you're working on a project with somebody at work that you've just met and you turn around and say, man, you're bad at this, this and this, without any form of like rapport between the two of you, then there is a chance that they won't take your criticism on board, as legitimate as it could be, and they'll probably just think you're being a bit of a dick. And that's in person, that's like the first layer, that's physical contact. You don't even have that in Overwatch. You have a voice and there's that sense of anonymity because you don't actually know or see the person. So you've got even less to work with. Even if you say to somebody in the nicest possible way, Soldier, this Pharah really isn't dying, what the hell's going on? Then there is a strong chance that they will react in a negative fashion because they feel that it's a challenge or confrontation in their ability. Thus begins the shit throwing and the breakdown of your team. You get stuff like these players not changing stubbornly because they want to be like, screw you, I'm not going to listen to you at all. Blaming others in your team, yada yada. If you'd like a video going over sort of de-escalation tactics and the psychology side of stuff to an extent with salty players and trolls, then do let me know in the comments below and I'll try and work on something.
We all know that there's more to this than Pharah isn't dying, therefore it's Soldier's fault. Yes, it is one of the hitscan's major roles to deal with the Pharah as he's an effective counter, but there's so much more to it than just that. What if I'm dealing with a person that is incredibly good at playing Pharah in particular, but basically no other heroes? That means that maybe their Pharah is a lot better than the skill tier I'm currently in, but their other heroes just aren't as good. Either way, it's gonna mean that if I don't play Soldier to the exact same degree as that person can play Pharah, I'm just gonna lose that 1v1 and most likely not do very well in that scenario. Another factor is that the Soldier himself is being countered and taken down with ease. Let's say there's an enemy D.Va constantly in Soldier's face, eating his damage and distracting him from taking down Pharah. You can refer to these heroes as different things, maybe call them enablers and so on. And these are heroes that allow the DPS to shine, basically. They allow them to survive and clean up house with ease. The supports do this a lot, sure, but so can other heroes and players on your team. Instead of just looking at the hero that is killing everyone, look at how that hero is surviving and who is helping them survive, why your Reinhardt's shield is constantly breaking and that sort of thing. Try to see past the kill feed, keep an eye on the on-fire fire system can sometimes help at least, to get yourself a better idea of what the enemy team's founding pillars really are standing on. What exactly is giving them the advantage? The most obvious examples of enablers are the likes of Zarya with her barriers and the support duo Ana and Zenyatta as well, with the ability to heal specific targets from a distance. This means long range support that helps with survivability overall and can really enable a DPS, for example.
We set the scene on a control map for a reason. Because of how that game mode is designed, this seems to happen a hell of a lot more on control than any other map, and there seems to be a lot more pressure to solve problems quickly. You also have a little bit of time between rounds to either solve the problem or just sit quietly and get salty at one another. But it really is a good opportunity to change stuff around and come out as a fresh-faced team that the enemy has to adjust to. But again, it has to be handled in a very certain way. Poorly attempted communication while switching a team around can leave you in a much worse position than you were originally in. Examples are the supports picking McCree because they're tilting, too much DPS on one tank, and heroes running out of spawn and then having to run back because you've got too many supports, you haven't got a tank, you haven't got a spot, that kind of thing. Upsetting the team balance and picking 2 to 3 counters to deal with one hero isn't the way to go about this. You need to come to a unanimous decision with your team to be smart, rational, acknowledge what's giving you grief, and then come with a team decision on what should be done.
So to finish off, we just want to give some tips and tricks on what you can do to alleviate some of the tilting and irrational decisions that come from being beaten by a hero with a form of counter already on the table. First off, ultimates do definitely matter. Constantly changing heroes each time you die to provoke any kind of response isn't good, as you're denying yourself ultimates to use. So yeah, don't stay too long on a hero and be extra careful when you're playing DPS. In the same vein though, don't hang on to a Junkrat or Reaper if a Pharah is dominating your team. If they are a so-called counter to you, don't put yourself and your team at a disadvantage simply because you're playing a hero you feel like you're normally comfortable on. Obviously there are rare exceptions to this, but generally synergy between 2 or more heroes comes before just one person being happy with the pick. Also, if you are a support or tank, recognize when you should and shouldn't change. This might sound a bit weird and basic at first, but if you're playing as a Reinhardt and a Tracer is constantly shooting into your back, know that it's not really your job to turn around and deal with her. If your team aren't doing that, then that's not a reason for you to necessarily change. Similarly, if you're off tanking as a hog and the Tracer is beating you and the Reinhardt up, you may want to change to something like a Winston, Zarya or D.Va to be better suited at dealing with her. Just know when it's actually your job to change and when it is someone else's. And finally, just communicate more. This can help a lot when just trying to counter anyone. If you're playing soldier and you can't deal with the Pharah, then let the team know. Just tell them that you can't deal with her and that someone else should maybe play soldier. That helps your team a lot more than just trying to deal with her as soldier and just failing throughout the whole game. The easiest thing to say is, so and so is giving me a problem, can I get some help? It's not good to say that at the end of the game, or say something like, oh, someone else needed to deal with that Ana or whatever. Say it whilst it actually matters and whilst the game is going. If you feel the soldier is underperforming, then ask if he's doing okay, if they want to swap if they're struggling, that sort of thing. Help each other out, don't work against your teammates.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. Do let us know if you have any tips and tricks for dealing with certain heroes that are causing problems. Use the example that we gave. A Pharah is giving you issues. You've got a soldier but it's not working for some reason. How do you solve that situation? Do let us know in the comments below. And let us know if you like this video as well. Thanks again for watching. Take care. We'll see you next time.